don't. No, not the kitty.
Bite
No.
it. Bite it.
Okay, give me this camera. You could be in an ad for a Gap ad. What do you mean you can model? Hey. Huh? Tanya. That was great. You can take stills from this, you know. Do you speak French?
No.
Do you speak Russian?
Нет.
Tanya.
Yes. I like your face. It's a cute face. I like your belly. Look at your pretty scar. It's all healed. You don't need plastic surgery. You got your stitches all out.
Tanya.
Okay, I think we've wasted enough film.
Wait, look at the camera. Give me a pose for me. Strike a pose.
Oh, yes.
What's your name?
Edu.
Oh my God, your face is awful.
Are you dancing?
I'm not dancing. I'm a knight.
She was pretty hot, dude. Yeah, so like back then, she had like
It's the one about me.
Okay, y'all. Smile
not
for the
80s
camera.
haircut.
Mom! Mommy! Mommy! Look!
Who is it?
That looks like me!
Is it you?
Yes. That one.
There should be just a whole
Looking at the
creation.
Kisses.
Yeah, leave it on the table.
Okay, there's on the table.
Everybody there in already?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's go.
She's got a video camera.
Yeah, but not
Our
from
Lady from Mars.
And I here I'm with my Humpty Dumpty. No one will know. Don't photograph me below the hip.
Okay.
Turn the light out because we'll get bugs this way.
And I would love to have a picture if somebody would send me one.
Yep, I always get doubles.
Thank you. I would really love that because I've been trying to keep track. This is the last leg of our journey together.
Oh,
not really.
Well, no, but I mean,
Got you.
So it's moving, yay.
I'm fine. You can or
Straight on the other.
to your left.
You want this out too?
Do we need these lights on here? No, it'd be better for them to be off. Thank you. Thanks, Brad. Okay.
Never mind, it wasn't you.
Up to the water.
I'm the TD, technical director.
You want to sit? You want a pillow?
No,
You're gonna play Jesus Christ up there with your
Yeah.
arms stretched?
It's gonna be conductor, they're gonna be conductor,
Con-
musician,
Okay,
and whatever else we need.
all right.
So.
You do it. You do my right hand.
So, so we have certificates for everyone, and
We're assuming that you'll be there tomorrow, those of you who are getting credit.
I had to knock an hour off of yours, Brad. She said you wouldn't
Just
be.
for the regular. Not your first time and it won't be your last.
won't. I'm so happy that I could come now.
Yeah, wonderful. When's the first time you came to Beacon?
Was while I was at training at St. Elizabeth. But you directed me when you came down to St. Elizabeth
That
to do a workshop.
1970s or the 60s?
1980.
80s?
79 or 80.
79 or 80. Okay.
It was 1980s.
But it don't really need to.
David? Well, you have been in the Sacramento waters quite a while now. How long now since first time in Myrtle Beach?
Was it 1996?
Yeah. Deborah.
Yes, Mom.
Well, what can I say?
I never received anything Thanks.
So it's been wonderful working with you. It's always wonderful working with anybody, but we have special people who have very special paths because we've been so many times through significant psychodramas, and it really, something clicks between you and that happens. Joy,
Yes. Yeah.
last time I saw you was in Poughkeepsie, and you said to me, I'm going south. If you ever come south, let me know if you'll walk down south, and so I kept you on my mailing list,
Good.
and here you are.
Yes. Thank you, dear. I love being here with you.
Wow. She lived in Judy
remember-
Swallow's house in Poughkeepsie.
Yes.
In that
Yes.
historic
Joy
house.
was at my first psychodrama
Yes.
with you,
Oh,
weren't you, Joy?
Yes.
Great.
The very
remember
first
that.
time I was ever with you.
Ah.
Joy was already seasoned.
A little bit. Yes.
So we have much
83.
already interwoven paths.
And I
already.
remember the psychodrama with your daughter. It was very meaningful for me.
All right. Roy David, what can I say? I discovered you. I discovered him in a Japanese journal. It was the only English article I could read. And it was about psychodrama and spirituality, and I much appreciated it, remember?
Thank you.
And thank you.
You're a gracious lady.
He was so pleased to hear from me, and I was so pleased to get in touch with him. David, Roy, what am I? Chopped liver?
Sorry.
No, that's what I ate yesterday.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't realize what was doing.
Right, right. All right. Tom. Well, we go back a long way too. I guess maybe longer than any other.
We go back 30 years.
Fantastic. And we're both still here to tell the tale.
We're both still here.
That's a surprising thing. Surprise to me anyway, and Ninjing. First time we met was in China, and then in Taiwan, and then China.
Then Bolton.
And then back to place. Wonderful. I'd love to see your girls growing up so beautifully. Terrific. Here you go.
You were my favorite
Translator.
Yeah, that's
when we
Oh,
went to
that's right.
China.
Yes.
Yes, that
Love
was
laughs at
special
locksmiths,
having you
but I will
there.
laugh at it. I won't want. The English say love laughs at locksmiths. In other words, love can get through wherever, even if locksmiths can't. And I'm not too sure what's happening now here with the locksmith.
He's working on the door now.
Is he?
Yeah.
New lock, I hope. Well, not.
You might have some good stories.
You can on the
Put
table
it
up
with mine,
front,
yeah,
by
right.
the light up front, so
Okay.
you take it on your way back.
How
on
many
the
of
way
you
out.
have participated in playback before? Almost everybody?
Not me.
Okay, well, great. Oh, 30 years.
Nope, don't know anything about it.
Well, playback, as you probably surmised, owes a great debt to psychodrama. When Jonathan Bucks and Joe Salas started before they started playback, they were doing community theater, and there was always something that was missing from it until they started discovering Moreno. Since they lived in Connecticut, and I guess we're
Jonathan trained with me and was director of training for a while.
And playback is now done in many different cities in the world, all over the globe. But we have, right here we have some pieces of fabric, which are familiar to you from getting yesterday, and some music. And that what I was going to suggest is, first of all, let me tell you that right now I'm in the role of the conductor. And in our playback company here in Charlottesville, that's a fairly fluid role that we decide before a show who's going to become conductor. And one of the things we like to do before a show is to schmooze with the audience. As people come in, we like to just converse with them a little bit and let them know who we are. And then we do a little introduction that tells them a little bit about us. We tell a very tiny, brief little vignette of what we did that day. One person tells it, the next person in line just as a little sound and movement to convey that to the audience. What I'd like to ask is if those of you who would like to and are familiar with playback would be willing to come up and be actors. Sure. And maybe we can use a few chairs. Sure.
And sometimes we try to hold something at the end and we wait for the applause till they're all done. So, because it's nice to be able to see the three different interpretations of it.
Oh, you want us to hold the
Stay in
position?
the ending
Say
position.
something.
Okay, this was a whole
you say,
discussion.
maybe not that one.
Oh, that's all right. You want us to go back into
Yeah,
it?
we just start, so,
Relief.
oh my God, where are those papers? Where are they? Where are they?
Thousands of hours.
Does anybody have anything that they want to say, maybe a fluid about how was lunch today? About how was your lunch today?
Just a fluid, not air.
Yeah. We'll go back and do it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, can you disappear?
no, I just want you to stand in the line. There you go.
What's a fluid?
Maybe-
The
Just be
sculpture
fluid.
you
What we did
saw.
at the beginning, the first few from that too. I want to watch something.
Great.
What?
Do you feel ready to do that fluid?
Why not?
What we did
Okay,
at the beginning,
great.
sure, why not? This is
Well, you know, I was
about-
thinking we could do a very quick description so everyone can
Yeah.
be.
Okay,
Yeah,
Jesse,
we can do it a little-
Jesse
You're not
will
gonna
give us a
solidify,
different-
but what
A
you got
fluid
to do?
sculpture, just so that everyone can get a chance if you'd like to, is 4, 3, 5, whatever actors you have, usually not more than 5. You stand close to kind of be in each other's breathing rhythm, and that's a whole other part of the process of becoming a troupe. But when the conductor gets a feeling and gets a little bit of maybe more information, another sentence or two about the feeling, and says, "Let's watch," then intuitively one person comes to center stage in neutral and then begins the sound and movement. And you don't want to be cavorting all over the place, particularly if you start, because you need to be able to build on this sculpture. So it needs to be something you can continue. Like if it was like this the whole time, that would be hard. So you need to take care of your body, but all of us are you, the teller. So if you gave us your feeling, we're all you. And while we're doing this, we do not look at you because we don't want to invade your space. So we do this, and then when the first person that starts is also the person who stops. So if we're all moving and doing our thing, and then I stop, and it's part of this being kind of aware of everyone around you, everyone stop and hold that frame, that sculpture for a moment, then briefly acknowledge your teller. Not too much, you don't want to like go, so how was that for you, you know? Just to acknowledge that you were you. I was you for that moment, and then step back in neutral for the next, so that we can rotate so everybody can get a chance to do this, because fluids are really fun and they're very easy. And it's just, you want to do sound and movement that you feel is the essence of the feeling you just heard.
Wow, thanks.
And also something that connects with the other person that is there sometimes that
Oh,
can
certainly.
go along with it.
Rhythmically and spatially fit
Right.
together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, you want to be like I might have an
Build on it.
idea. If you say I was terrified yesterday when there was a train wreck in front of me, I might have in my mind this whole image of what that's going to look like. But if I don't get out there and start doing kind of what I'm imagining, someone else might come in and start a whole different energy or rhythm. So I need to take that generous offer and move with that. And that's the acting and playback works, is people make generous offers and you need to be spontaneous enough to kind of let go of your agenda of what you thought the whole thing should look like and follow that lead. Or follow it enough till you can shape it over to where you think it should go. So yeah, that's very important. Thank you.
Great.
Pizza Hut, you know, and I had to be careful. I wanted to get all that I could eat, but then I didn't want to make myself sick like I did a few nights ago over at the Golden Corral when I had to walk and walk to feel better. So there was like a little conflict there. We're trying to get things, but not trying to overdo it.
So David's story of all can you eat?
Yeah. Before you explode. Without exploding.
Without exploding. Let's watch. How is that for you, David? Thank you, actors.
Thing with a feeling that you have about something, but on one end it'll be the minimum of the feeling, in its smallest essence, and it'll progress through the people to the other end where it's the maximum amount of that feeling, and then it goes back down, and it finishes after it returns back to the minimum.
Yeah, and so I said to her, you know they invented it. And she said, what? And I said, paper. And she just smiled, you know. So it was like a feeling of playfulness. I wanted to play with the waitress. And it worked out really well because she played right back with me.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, I don't know if that works or not, but I think that's what happened at lunch.
A feeling of playfulness and at lunch. That you said it very well. And we'll start there like I described, just so it isn't confusing. Minimum to maximum. Yeah. And what was the feeling you had when you saw that?
My God, where are the years gone?
I see a feeling in your. What is that feeling of my God? Where have the years gone? Can you?
Well, I want to be there when you're coming out of college. I want to be there to see you into life, but don't do it too fast.
So it's a yearning, but also asking to slow down or something.
Yeah, I mean it's all happening so fast.
Does that seem clear to people?
Yeah, what kind of, can you guys help
It's
us with
almost
what
bigger than
feeling?
this,
How would you
than
name
this.
Surprise.
Yeah, maybe that needs to be a
Oh,
story.
maybe it's a chorus or a story.
Yeah, a
Chorus.
chorus
Yeah.
would be lovely.
Okay.
There's no chorus.
Yeah.
Who here's done chorus before that?
Yes.
I don't think I
Maybe
can
you
tell you.
watch
I
the
think why don't you watch this
Yeah.
one?
And
And so,
watch
yeah,
the
anticipation is
Anybody else want chorus?
Welcome to the audience.
So we've moved into story here without doing the usual conductor thing with a teller's chair.
Let's try
do
chorus.
it together, right?
We might have different definitions of this term chorus, so this will be.
And
Right.
this should be interesting.
Actually, maybe,
Okay.
why don't you be Fred, because you're a good merger.
Okay.
Deborah, will you come
Like a
conduct?
fluid.
Sure.
All you
Anyway.
have to do is say, "Let's watch."
That's
Instead of
good.
chorus, let's
You've
watch.
already gotten Sarah's story, so you might want to just kind of summarize her story and then say let's watch.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've heard Circus' story. She is taken by the entrance of her grandson, that he's grown so much, and yet she's, in a sense, wanting to stop it, but yearning to see who he's going to be, and it's all going too fast. So let's see it.
Jared. 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 Too fast. Jared. Just a little.
I'm going to college.
I'm not ready.
Not yet. Not yet.
Let's pass out these.
Slow down, slow down.
Place for 1 month.
Okay, it's a story that you're kind of in the middle of right now.
Yes,
Okay.
it's still going on.
And where does it take place?
It takes place in a hospital.
Okay, and who are some of the, who is in this story?
Jenny, my honey's in the story. My father-in-law's in the story. My mother-in-law's in the story. My sister-in-law's in the story. My brother-in-law's in the story. My brother-in-law's in the story. And
So,
yeah,
a lot of in-laws.
yeah, in-laws in the story.
An in-law story.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened? What is happening? has happened
my
so far?
my father-in-law is doing his very best to make the trip to the other side, and my sister-in-law is doing her very best to keep him here. And Jenny is doing her very best to get everybody trained to teach them how to allow him to make the trip to the other side. And I feel like a corner man in a prize fight, where she goes out there and she does the fighting, and I come back and I massage her, give her water, wash her down, and she goes back out there and does the fighting.
Okay,
You know?
let me get this straight. So your father-in-law is inevitably going to make this transition.
Inevitably
to the
going to
other
make this
side.
transition.
And your wife and her sister have different feelings about whether one's trying to facilitate that. And
One's trying to
her
facilitate.
her sister's name is what?
Marion.
Marion. And Marion is really, how would you say that she's?
Well, Marion is trying to talk to a man who has leukemia and who is not really lucid any longer, trying to talk to him and tell him his little soldiers should go out there and fight the cancer. And
She
Jenny
wants
is
her to hang on.
hang on for everything.
Okay.
Now he's 86.
Okay.
And
Well, we know that's.
you know, and he's had leukemia for 12 years. The disease got him, and so Jenny's in there trying to say to Marion, let's try to get real here. Let's give him peace and quiet and gentleness and love, and let him make the transition in a state of love, where he thinks everything's okay. And so she goes out, and then Jenny comes back to me, and she gets all her tears out and all her frustrations
Yeah,
out.
so you're the.
So I'm the
you're
corner
the
man. I'm
massage and
massaging her,
towel
getting her
and-
back in there, and then
Okay.
and she goes back in and does some more battle.
Okay, I think we got a pretty good sense of the general scenario. Now what we need is, if you can recall during this past month, one specific day or one specific instance when something happened that kind of really brought this up into clear focus.
Yes, I
Was
can.
there a particular event?
Yes, Jenny and I and Marion went to a section of the hospital. And Marion started to say to me that if I would be willing, and she never said it straight, always around the corners, something about a willingness of someone to help her brother, because her brother would be the only one who could talk to her dad, that her dad would listen to.
Wait, I'm sorry, this is Marion or?
Marion. I was with Jenny and Marion and myself.
And Marion
And
was
Marion
asking you
was
to talk to
asking me,
their brother.
you know, if I would talk to their brother, because he was the only one never saying exactly what it was.
Mhm.
And so finally, I mean, it took a long facilitation for me to finally figure out that Marion was talking about me teaching her brother how to get his father to visualize little soldiers fighting the cancer cells. And I didn't understand it. And when I finally heard that, you know, I said, "Oh, Jesus."
Okay, so you knew that Marion wanted you to do something with her brother, but
But
it
didn't
took
have
a
the
while.
faintest idea what it was.
Okay, and was the brother there, or was he?
Yeah, the brother was he's not in the setting of three. He's in the hospital,
So
hospital room.
It was really there was the three of you in this scene.
Right.
And it took a while for it to dawn on you that Marion
Right.
was really trying to get you,
Right.
put you in the middle, so to speak, to
Right.
get you to encourage him to
Yeah.
get these soldiers going.
It kind of dawned on Jenny and I at the same time, like what she's trying to do.
Okay. So can you just say a little bit about Jenny and Marion? I think they're the three of you are the main characters in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a word or a phrase or so to describe Jenny as she is in this story? What's she like?
Jenny's a very compassionate woman, very loving.
Compassionate.
But at the same time, very concrete and locked into very grounded, you know, and a spiritual woman who understands clearly that this man is dying and it's time to go, and let's make him as comfortable and happy and free of anything he needs to hear and do. Let's take care of it. And so she's into the world of trying to make this spiritual transition a wonderful, meaningful thing for him, and I'm trying to coach her to do that. And she's kind of like looking at Marion and like, my God, where are you coming from, woman? You're like from another world.
Okay. Is there someone here who you think could play Jenny right now?
Jenny, you can play Jenny. No, you can't. You can play Jenny. No. You can play Jenny.
Okay. So she's going to stand up, and since she's cast now. And what about Marion? What?
You can play Mary.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Stand up in your cast.
So, just a few words to describe Marion. What kind of person is she, from your point of view, in this
Yeah.
particular story?
Marion is very, she's task-oriented. This woman can do task-oriented.
Oh, I know that.
She can do anything. I mean, she's a real caregiver. almost like a rescuer. You know, she got like got maybe a big R tattoo on her chest. You know, she just runs around and rescues everybody she can rescue, but she does it very efficiently. She's a wonderful, efficient rescuer. I mean, I want her to rescue me someday because she's so good at it.
Okay, then you got a pretty good sense of
Yeah,
what
and
Mary's-
kind of like she see things says things that doesn't make sense, like an airhead. You know, she's like, you understand? She's
Airhead
kinda-
rescuer.
Yes, airhead rescuer. Yeah.
Okay, and what about, who's gonna play you in the story? You got two more choices.
You're gonna play me.
Okay, Ben. And how about you? How did you feel? This almost reminds me of one of those moving fluids. How did you feel from in this story from the beginning towards the end? You kind of gave us an idea of it.
In the beginning of the story, I felt like I wanted to be there for her. I thought she was probably trying to tell me something about trying to help her make the transition with her father and trying to get her to get in touch with something spiritual for herself and trying to help her guide her. I thought she was asking me, what do I do? What do I say to him? What do I say to this man that will bring him comfort when he asks me these really weird questions? That's what I thought she was asking me to do.
So you were feeling.
I'm feeling locked into her. I'm feeling like I'm
Connected.
connected and like we're moving forward and this man's dying and we're going to give him dignity with his death and it's going to be a
Yeah.
graceful, peaceful,
And then
loving
how did that
thing.
change? How did that change by the end of the story? Were you
Well,
feeling different?
once I figured out what she was talking about, I just said like, I mean, what are you really doing? You know, what in heaven's name are you doing? What world are you living in? Because
what's
you're
it-
not in touch with this one.
And what's a name for that feeling? Just because that helps them to act you better. How could you?
Out
what
of
would you
touch
call
with
that?
reality.
That's how you. No, that's.
That's how I felt about her.
And
He can't hardly breathe anymore. We've got to get him to breathing, you know? The breathing part. Very important. And
There's illness.
just take a breath for a moment. It's not my breath that's the problem. Don't you understand that? You guys are always just thinking about yourself. No, Dad's ready to go to the other side, so we need to just unconditionally love him and support him to move through that space. Let him release from that pain. I don't know what I'm looking at.
There's a
here.
crisis here.
I really don't know what
Illness.
Hey, Sasquatch. What you doing, Sasquatch? What you doing, kitty? You can go out the window? You're going out the window? You wanna go out? What you saying, Puss? That's the first
You
word on
got
the tape.
pardon my, we're taping here, you got screwed. Take care of people's stuff. Okay, you got screwed. You got screwed by the ministers with your mothers going along with it. And a lot of abuse, okay? The problem that came out of that was that framework that you had around God as it relates to that didn't work. So somehow or other you got yourself into the Muslim world, which actually is a community-based faith. Which fits your native roots, which also gave you a whole other way of looking at this good creator. Eventually landing yourself back in the native world, which is a community, tribal-based world, which enabled you to ground in a whole different way. And to be, those things are a circular way of coming back and healing this circle of faith. Because Christianity in itself, the way Christ taught it, is not how it manifested. And in order to come to terms with our own faith base, we have to find ways to do that. That's why I make that a community altar and not a native altar. I know what my altar is. I don't need to create an altar here for somebody else. It's my altar. I need to create an altar that gives the community a place to begin to build a base of faith. Okay, so here we are. So you guys have that, and you bring that to this group. You
I don't want to
went
shoot
off
into the
from the
window.
Methodist
I
thing
don't get a
into the
good
Jewish
picture.
thing. Became a big-time Jewish person related to teaching, and you got yourself a Muslim wife, and you got all kinds of stuff and experiences related to that, and you bring that into this group as part of your living. And eventually the circle came around, and native that you are ended up native, and then finally you two come together. Now, whether you like it or not, here we have the whole underneath frame of the war in the Middle East. Right here in this room with these two people. Christianity, the Muslim faith, and the Jewish faith. And the native world, both in the Middle East and in this country. So we got the four winds right here. We're sitting in the middle of Jerusalem when these two are involved. Make no mistake about that. With it's full of hormones and all the rest of this stuff, well, hell, it's no wonder that we got all kinds of problems that people are having to adjust to. It's no wonder that we got people who are having problems with what they eat and then they want to go to sleep. Because of the chemicals that are in what we eat. We don't get a hold of any real food anymore unless you go to the health food store and pay out the wazoo, and some of us are doing that. But, poor people or people who don't have much money, they go to the health food store and they see how much something costs and they go, excuse me, I can't afford this. So they go keep putting poison into their system. Now that's one part of it. On the other part of it, there's some of us that just keep right along doing it. Even though we know it's bad for us. And I indict myself in that. Don't think for a second that I'm not aware that I'm out of integrity. And that there's a piece of me that has several things going on. One, I have a death myth that for the most part I've mastered. But it hasn't manifested in the way I eat. And part of that is because I also happen to I have a problem. I like my body. I like how it looks. I happen to like looking like the early goddess figures. Now those are contradictory processes, and that's I guess a bit I'm working on. Okay? Nobody is exempt from this ultimate responsibility thing, and certainly not the teachers, for crying out loud. We're not. So here you go. We have this whole processes that we're in around what's going on. Well, if on a spiritual level, the World Trade Towers are the masculine and the feminine nature, then what's the Pentagon? The Pentagon is the ultimate of masculine, warrior, out of controlness. That's the hawk. And no offense to hawks, but they go around and they attack whatever, and they get wiped out, and a lot of things happen to hawks. But if the Pentagon is a reflection of the masculine nature and the five senses, then which one got hit? And which one also got affected? And which one of it is in the process of having to be rebuilt? And what effect is that going to have on the other four senses? What is that? And what then does the feminine nature need to do about it? Because that's a masculine place. And, you know, it's interesting, you know, when you stop and think about it. Because whatever Bin Laden is a wounded man who's psychotic, got all this religious stuff, and at least we call him psychotic. Maybe who the hell knows? Because I don't know. I know that this is a wounded man who's pissed off, who's been abandoned, betrayed, and violated, who has a tremendous amount of money and power, and misuse of power is going on, by the way the world defines it. However, it's forcing us in to look at some things. You know, there was a time that if this had happened, there wasn't anybody in this country that would have raised a question about what the United States is doing. Yeah, let's go in and bomb those butts, you know, what was it I heard somebody said? All the ragheads need to be killed. You know, we just need to go take out all the ragheads. Makes me cringe. You gotta be nuts. But, there are people who are saying that. There are people who are attacking mosques. There are people who are attacking people who look different. We're having to force ourselves to look at diversity. We're having to force ourselves to take stands. People are suddenly going in. In Seattle, there were people up there who, when the mosque began to be attacked, the people in the neighborhood joined together, and now they all watch the mosque at night. There are beginning to be meetings, spiritual meetings or religious meetings among people who are looking at what the religious differences and similarities are. There are people in neighborhoods who are suddenly finding out who each other are and beginning to form community again. There are people who are saying, yes, it's fine that this happens, but there are millions of people now starving to death, and we're partly responsible for that. And these people are freezing to death, and they better have some food and some clothes. There are people who are on the internet putting in things and saying, you can't do this. We don't like what you're doing. So there's been a tremendous spiritual shift, not only here, but all over the world about what's going on. And even though we have a president who has no checks and balances, there are things that are happening which are forcing at least some containment on what's going on. Even this military tribunal shit, where you could take somebody in and try them in front of a military tribunal where it wasn't public for everyone to be able to see, has been, you know, I mean, that's been called a halt to. And the ACLU, thank God we have them, is partly responsible for that, but so are the people. All of us are aware that our freedoms are really on the line right now, and that we have to take some accountability and responsibility. We cannot just be passive people and expect that everything is going to be hunky. So now here we are suddenly, if you look at what's happening on a bigger level, and then you look at what you're doing to define your own myth, which is what the next year is about, then you got to begin to look at how do I want my masculine and feminine nature and myself as a reflection going through that spiritual gate. What's it going to look like? How do I want it to be? What do I want that framework to be? And what do I have to do to master that? How am I going to master that? That's not some accident you people are here. There are going to be more people coming in. There are going to be more people going down to Argentina. Because the whales have said that's the heart place of the planet. That's the place of transformation of the heart energy of the planet when the right whales come in and give birth. It is the most nurturing and creative, energetic place I have ever stepped into. And I've been in plenty of nurseries where newborn babies are and labor and delivery, where, believe me, it is a drop in the bucket compared to what's down there. The other thing is they're the only kind of whales that once they leave the Valdez, nobody knows where they go. So we don't know what happens to them, but we do know that the whales have been the record keepers and the caretakers of this planet. And so the whales really show us what to do with people. We go out with them every day, and then we come in and we do psychodramas. based on what the whales show us. And people's lives are completely transforming. It is really strange. It really is. And I should have brought the tape over here. I forgot about it. I mean, it just didn't seem, I mean, it wasn't supposed to come when I got it. But just so you, I mean, that's part of that's what this new method is about. That's what we're really up to, people. I have to master this diet thing. I have to do that because I have type 2 diabetes and because my blood pressure is going up. Now, I'm not only, I mean, I have a systemic system at this point that involves this planet. People in Europe, people in Argentina, people in all parts of the United States, and what's more, in my family system. I've got 2 brothers in my face about wanting me to live. I mean, it's a big deal. And Ray Charles is solidly in the backyard of what I do. And what that means is that it wouldn't even occur to him to tell me to get a regular job. The question that he has in his mind is, when do you leave again and what are you doing this time? But he has not one question about the importance of the spiritual journey that I'm on. And what's more, he stepped into his own this year in a much more profound way. He's much calmer. And all kinds of things have happened for him that are really pretty amazing. So this stuff works, but you've got to deal with it, not from a psychological level, because that's only one piece of it. We've got mental bodies, we've got souls, and we've got physical bodies, and each one of them have their own memories. And then we've got consciousness, and that consciousness is attached to all of creation and to the whole sphere. Now, myth, what's that pen? It's over here, I think. Yeah, here's one. Is this. Here we are. And we're working on this. What are the myths of our lives? What frames our life? What's it about? Well, this is a sphere on a flat surface. Okay? Now, there are all kinds of possibilities. Here, all over. And in the center is us. That's why it doesn't really matter. So you as a being, you come in and you get, and we set an altar. We set an altar with these 6 directions here. Okay? And we set an altar with prayers, and we set an altar with creation and saying, okay, here we are. Creator, help us out here. We got this altar. We got this framework in which we're working, and we really want to master what it is we came in here and get to the degree that we can this time. And we're committed to life. And we're committed to taking a look at what the story of our life is so that we can shift the underlying base. And we're willing to go where it takes us to go. If that's into the shamanic world, we'll go there. If that's into 8 generations ago, we'll go there. It doesn't matter.
That's real good.
Just help us out here. And we call in the spirits and we say, would you help us out here? And we call in the angels and we call in the animals. We hit all the different levels and call them in here to be a real support and help us. Okay, so then we do that. And then we start work. And here we are. And we seek out and we find a topic. And maybe that topic is here, or maybe it's over here, or maybe it's whatever. But that's the story. Out of all of that, and some of it's tied to what we know and some of it isn't. And then we pull it in here. And we master it and allow ourselves to expand all that much more. The pathway between here and here is the psychedelic. And that's what links these 2 together. You came somewhere out of your own system, whether it's out of that expansion of consciousness, out of what the spirits bring to us. And you know what? That's part of the great mystery. I don't have to understand it all. I mean, how the hell did your heart get healed? I don't know. All I know is, and sitting down in Argentina. I know that she's going in for a cardiac cath, and I'm sitting in Monica's living room. I've known Monica a long time. Shrink down in Argentina I work with. And all of a sudden I find myself sitting in the middle of this heart. And the blood's going. I mean, it's a trip to sit inside of a heart, let me tell you. You get to watch everything works. I mean, in no kind of way, and all the time I've been in medicine, worked in the operating room, up in heart surgery, did I ever have the sensation of what a living heart was? But I'm telling you, I got a better idea now. So here I am sitting here, watching this process happen. And I'm watching this beating on a rhythmic way, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this valve that's all shot to shit. And, you know, and I can see how the blood's pushing back up, and I'm just looking at all this, and all of a sudden I hear this voice say, now put your hands out and just support that valve. And I'm going, oh, okay. So I'm sitting there, so I'm doing this. Monica walks through and she said, what are you doing? And I said, Monica, I'm sitting in a living heart. I don't know how I got here. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm telling you, it's really interesting, and I got blood rushing around. And she goes, oh, okay, and walks on. Not an unusual event for her. That this kind of thing can happen. We do a lot of work like that down there in some ways, but not about this, but anyway. So I'm sitting there, and I start to shift, don't move. Okay. So I'm just sitting there, and this beating's going on. I mean, it's really a trip to sit in the middle of watching this blood pass through, you know? I mean, really, it's very strange. So you sit there. Now, how that happened, I don't know. I didn't ask for it. I did not consciously sit down and go, I'm going to go sit in Anita's heart. I didn't do any of that. I just found myself there. It was and it's scary in some ways. I mean, this can make you think you're really nuts. And so I'm sitting there. Well, in about an hour or so, they said, well, it's enough. You can let go now. So I stopped and I go, so I go into the email system to see how Anita is. I mean, not a word comes through, so we don't. So I get back to Texas on Monday. I call down to her house. Two Bear and OC are there, and Sheila's there. She comes in while I'm on the phone. And I find out that Anita came out of that catheterization with a healthy heart. At that point, I freaked. I mean, really freaked. It was painful. It was scary. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what to do with it. So I called Seattle. And Kathy got on the phone, and I said, you got to tell Reginald what's happening here while I'm talking to you, so I'm sure that you tell him exactly what I say. So then I told him about it, and Reginald says, in the background, Kathy repeats to me, well, that's what the old medicine men used to do. I didn't get any kind of resolution by that, I'm telling you. I just got more scared. And so, and I'm not kidding. I mean, there's a big piece of me that's really freaked about all this. You know, and then I find out in my astrological chart that it's all in there about this ability to talk to animals, that I brought in with me. And I'm going, so no more room for slipping and sliding about this. That there's, you know, and the natives all think this is really cool stuff. But I, you know, as native as I am, and as long as I walk this path, I got raised in this white world. I got this incredible dichotomy inside me, related to who I am, and it's hard. So I just tell Kathy, I says, you tell Reginald that I need to see him in Manly when I'm up there. I want some help with this. Because I'm having a hard time dealing with what's happening to me, really a hard time. So, Reg says in the background, oh, okay, we can give her some teachings around this. You know, so that's happening. So then, a lot of stuff happens on Fridays. Friday, I get a call from Two Bear. I'm watching TV with Ray, a movie. He says, I need to talk to you. A crow flew by and whispered in my ear. And I'm going, Two Bear, let me call you back. So he calls me back in about 45 minutes or an hour. Did you tell me you were going to call me or I was going to call you? I said, Two Bear, I'll call you. So I called him back in about 45, another half hour or so. Fool's Crow said for me to tell you. Oh, God. I said, wait a minute. I don't want to talk to Frank Fool's Crow, and I don't want to hear what he has to say. He said, well, I don't care what you want to hear. He wants you to know you need to stop freaking out over this, that it's going to grow, but that they're all going to give you a hand. Now, Fool's Crow's been in the spirit world now for a while, along with these other spirits. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, what do you mean it's going to grow? Well, you're the interface between the whales and the rest of the planet, and what's more, you're going to be able to talk to all these animals, and you're going to this, and you're going to that. And at that point, I'm going, it's enough. He says, no, it's not. There's more. And I'm just like, so really, I'm on a roller coaster ride, hanging on, trying to integrate all this in, and look at how does this, because if you think that y'all are the only ones changing your myth, guess again. I'm in this boat too. There's not any of us that are not in the boat on this planet of shifting into a new mythic pattern. This whole planet is mobilized. This whole planet, if you really stop and look at it, have made a decision that terror, not being loved, being abandoned, not having a connective process going on, a sociometric process about building community, this whole planet is mobilized around that direction. It's mobilized about the framework of boundaries. It's mobilized around how do we support each other. It's mobilized around a lot of things that are out of control. Some are misuse of power, and some people are really speaking to responsible management of what we're up to. And that's the photon belt. That's the shift. But no shift can take place without going through chaos. That is the ritual of transformation and moving into a whole nother place. How we handle that is going to determine what happens on this planet. But the main thing is, physician, heal thyself. You are your own healers. There are some of us who are teachers, but we're also in the same water. We're working to heal ourselves. Nobody's exempt. So, part of it that this is involved with down here in this new myth that you're all creating is passion. What's your passion? This is mine. I really want this planet to be different, and I want me to be different as a reflection of this planet. That means much to me as breathing does, and leaving that legacy behind when I finally do leave. That's part of the myth that I'll carry and leave for my family. Because what we do affects 7 generations, people. And I will not and do not support separation. And some needs to be there for balance. We are separate beings. But within that context, we make choices about how that separation is going to be. One of the questions each and every one of you need to ask yourselves is, can you really be alone and be at ease with yourself? Can you be quiet and listen to your own inner being? Can you hear your own voice? Do you know the sound of your voice? Do you know the sound of spirit voices? Do you know the sounds of the different voices in your head that are important to you? Called lovers, called children, called mother, called father. Are they positive moms? Are they positive dads? Are they negative? Are they negative? And what do you choose to do about listening to those voices? How are you going to, do you want to listen to them and hear what your patterns are so that you can then take a look at it and go, I think I like this part, but I'm going to shift this. Because this is not about denying what you carry. This is about separating out the baby and the bathwater. You keep the baby, yourself, and you get rid of the bathwater and get new water. So, it's time to do other kind of work. It's time for sessions. So there's questions about what I've been saying since I got off on this tangent and started teaching again. And how's anybody? I didn't shut you up and completely.
Is it important to know where you are in the process, or can you just
No.
simply trust it and go on?
Everybody who's in this room is here because it's time for them to be here. I don't care where you are in the process. You are wherever you are. It's unimportant to me about the rest. What's important to me is that you're here, and then we'll deal with whatever we have to. There's not anybody in this room who is not an extremely competent professional in whatever world they're in. No matter who we are. And I don't mean that professional in the sense of doctor, lawyer, no offense, Indian chief. You know, we got a doctor here, we even have had a lawyer that's been part of this group, so I mean, it's interesting. What I mean is, human beings who are living their life, who are committed to transformation, and are doing their work. They're not psychotic. They do have difficulties, and they're in here going into the depths of the core of who they are, so they're terrified. Well, terror, in order to get mastery, you have to master terror. In order to get faith, you have to master terror. You have to master abandonment. You can't get faith without it. You cannot get needs met without that. You cannot get desires without mastering that. You can't do it. It's not possible. And there's a relationship between mastery and those things. That's the spring and the fall. There's a relationship between summer and winter. And on this planet, they are complementary. I go between the seasons all the time, because Argentina's on the other side of the equator. So when you come down in the fall, those of you who are going to the whales, you go into springtime. That's why I tell people it's probably a good idea to come down 2 or 3 days ahead of time. I'll have somebody meet you guys, take you around Argentina. And part of it is to help you adjust to the seasons. It also to help you adjust to the fact that here the circle goes this way. Down there, the circle goes this way. So you're dealing with your DNA shifting. You're dealing with a way of being that we all think of as this, that suddenly this is the normal way. So it's going to discombobulate your system. But that's part of going down to the whales. And they do what they do. God bless all of you. But that's part of what that's about. And it changes all kinds of things. But we're working with those complementaries here. And right now, that's an important complementary. Now, if you look at that complementary related to, I guess I wouldn't be talking. Guys, I got work to do. All right. Let me show you what I do with my All right. This is winter and summer. These are the solstices. Now this is a ritual of transformation that goes across here, and you get wisdom out of this. This is a pathway of death and rebirth. That's the shedding of the snakeskin. Okay? Up here, and this is an earth ritual. Up here's an air ritual. It's apotheosis and continuity. This is the highest and best that we are up here. y'all probably ought to come over here where you can see this. Okay, now, this is a ritual where we continue to have a sense of our own being. This is about doing down here. Now, when that happens, there's a relationship here between these two. Now, right now, we're sitting on this. We can gain some wisdom, but we have to, as beings, bring into balance this and this, not the extremes. Not the extremes. We're going through a death and a rebirth ritual on this planet right now, and each of you are inside yourselves around the creation of a new myth. I framed this year that way out of your own internal systems. This workshop is the preparation for that, and it's the preparation for that because this is December 21st. And right about here is where we are on this pathway, on this circle. You're getting primed for this ritual of transformation that's going to take place, and every one of you are going to go through it by yourselves. Unless you happen to live together like you two do, or be best friends, or whatever. I fly to Seattle on the 22nd. On the 24th, I'll be in a medicine meeting. On the 27th, there's a meeting for my mother. And on the 31st, there's a meeting. I'll be praying in all of those. I always do. I pray in Christmas and New Year's. Now, what is this? This is light. And this is dark. Those are times of year. January 1st, 21st is the time of the greatest light. In Argentina, it's the time of the greatest darkness. December 21st, Argentina is going into the fullness of light right now. We're going into darkness. That means that this good Creator, when we follow Him, we don't really want for anything that we truly need. Okay? That's what that means. Next. He maketh